Well, good morning, my algebros. So I had a student reach out and ask if I would go over the Are You Ready? Page 238. That was your homework after the test last chapter. And I thought that was a great idea that she asked that. So let's go over this. The first 5 are vocabulary words. And then it asks you to graph these 6 points, right? So I think we just need a little refresher that the x-axis is always the horizontal, right? And the y-axis is always the vertical. And just like all the other number lines that you've had before, these number lines, they go on towards infinity, right? So this direction is, the reason why there's an arrow there is because it's saying it keeps going towards positive infinity. On the other side, it keeps going towards negative infinity. And so for the y-axis, this also goes towards negative infinity, right? And this up here goes towards positive infinity, right? That's our y-axis, and here's our x-axis. Then, of course, all of these things have to have a starting point, right? When you start your directions. So, and that's going to be the center point, and that's our point of origin, which is 0, 0. All coordinate pairs are written in alphabetical order, right? The first is always the x, and the second is always the y. And you start at the point of origin. You start here at our point of origin. I'll start in pink. I started at our point of origin, and we follow the directions. Number 6 asked us to graph the point -2 and +4. So I'm starting with my x first, which takes me -2 spaces, and then I go to the second direction, which is a +4. And that is why the answer for number 6 is right here, because this is the coordinate -2 and 4. Now that you know that, you can check all your other coordinates to make sure that you're doing these correctly, right? When it says it's an Are You Ready? It's really saying we're just reviewing these concepts that you've probably already had. So I just want to make sure that you know how to do that. The next one is looking at when we're given some sort of equation. Now this says that y equals 2, and I'm very purposeful, -2 x -1. Okay, very specific colors for a reason. That every coordinate pair on here, all of the x and y values, all of the x's literally represent this x, and all of the y's literally represent this y, right? So they're all a set of coordinate pairs that could fit in here. And when you're done solving for all of these, this is a pair, and this is a pair, and this is a pair, this is a pair, and this is a pair. And they would all be on the same coordinate pair, coordinate grid, showing us that these are the solutions. These are all solutions to this equation, okay? So we have to be given something, or we can even choose it, because we're given an equation and the equation represents all the solutions, right? This equation is so powerful, it represents any dot that could be on any line with all of these solutions. So all of these here are the x values that we're going to substitute in to solve for the very, very specific y values that will draw this line. So we just simply take, if x is -2, then we put it into our equation, -2 times -2 minus 1. And -2 times -2 is +4 minus 1 is 3. And that's how we get this 3 right there. That's our first coordinate pair, -2, 3. And then we continue to do it for the rest. So on this equation here, what will y be but it's negative 2 times negative 1 minus 1. Well, negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2 minus 1 is a regular 1. And that's how we get 1 here. Anytime we have x be 0, that means this is going to go away. And it's always our y-intercept, or when x is 0. And we'll talk more about that coming up in this chapter. And then we substitute in for when x is 1, y, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, minus 1 is negative 3. That's how we get this value. Then y equals negative 2 times 2 minus 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, minus 1 is negative 5, and that's how we solve this value here. So now you have all the other solutions and how you would substitute in to solve for them. You can check your work against these. You can always pause the video and make sure your solutions are correct, right? And there's more here. Now, of course, with something like this, you have to make sure that you're doing inside the parentheses first before you square. So the first one, I have negative 2 plus 1 would be negative 1, and negative 1 squared, because there's parentheses around the whole thing, would just be 1. And so forth. And then when you get to 20 through 28, I believe, these are all, chapter through 28, these are all just chapter 1 solving for one variable, and that's great. You can do that using your inverse operations. And then 29 through 34, they're solving when you don't have any other numbers in there, so you're just isolating a variable, okay? So hopefully that makes you feel better, and you can scroll through this and pause the video wherever you needed it, and that'll be great. All right, have a wonderful day.